Can you build then, John? I guess the empires you two have built without that obsessive focus? Is there a way to have balance in your life and still build what you built in hindsight?
It's really, really difficult. It's a tension that never, ever goes away. Your focus in constructing and building and coaching and mentoring and all the things you're doing to build this enterprise are such that you use all of your energy to communicate and thank, express gratitude, show loyalty to all these people that are in your work life, because your home life is already done. It's like at least you think it is, and you pursue the work angle because it's a huge challenge and an opportunity. I mean, it's obviously, and you think it's going to benefit you and your family, and it does. I mean, it would be lying to say it doesn't, but it's very hard to step out of that warrior mindset and go back into making family a priority when you're so consumed with competing and winning the war, winning every little battle. The greatest tensions I ever had in my marriage all occurred during the most intense times in my business, and the called the gratitude bucket is never full enough on the home front. When you go from CEO, owner, operator mindset in your day-to-day life, and come home where you contribute 1% but still want to have 50% of the say. And
that's the math,
and that's kind of the math. One might be exaggerating it, and you're not entitled to that.
There's only so many hours in a day, which means you've got to set priorities. And don't let your children, don't let your spouse, don't let your personal life be the last priority. Because at 11:30 at night, when you hang up that last call, it's a little late to be putting a little time in on family.
What I tried to do while I was in the throes of all that was to try and structure meaningful family time that wasn't token. So it would require an investment, like it was going to be a week, 10 days. It was going to be a holiday, family holiday that wasn't going to be spent on the phone, on the, constantly not with the family. And eventually, like the first couple never went that way, but eventually they did. And it came down to finding people that you really trusted to take care of things in your absence. That's one of the maturing levels you reach as you start to operate a larger and larger enterprise. You realize that it can't be about you. And if it's about you, then you need to be there all the time. And yet there's part of you that loves being so critical.
If your priorities don't include your family and your health and your family and your spouse, if you will, you're going to trip. It's just a given. Kids know when you're treating them with the deference and respect that they deserve. Kids just want your time, and they'd love your time when your cell phone's off so that you're engaged with them.
Kind of mentality, you'd never answer a family call in a board meeting, so why are you answering a board meeting call in the middle of a family event?
Well, I've actually evolved my life to the point where if a child phoned right now, I'd take the call, but simply to say, I'll call you back. There's nothing more demeaning than sending your child to voicemail.
So how do you two want to be remembered corporately by people in the outside world? And then how do you want to be remembered by your best friends and family? And is there a difference between the two?
We had an exercise we did one time in Forum that was fascinating. You may have done something like this, but we were asked to write our epitaph, what was going to be written in the newspaper after we passed. And so it gave us a chance to think about that. And our whole forum sat down and talked about, mine was probably written. Brett was a businessman and a philanthropist based in Calgary who was a co-founder of First Energy and a whole bunch of things. And we all came back into the room after spending about half an hour talking about how we would be described. And it was pretty emotional because now you've got to define yourself as dead, which nobody wants to do, and then look back and say how to go. And we all came into the room and we were prepared to read our sort of storylines. And the coach, who was one of our members, said, okay, turn those over And we all turned them over, and we're all looking at each other. A couple of people were still in tears thinking about their impending demise, and said, now I want you to take that piece of paper and tear it up. And we're now a little annoyed. And he said, no, I don't want you to use that one. I want you to rewrite it now as if one of your children had written it. Mm. And every one of us acknowledged that we had written it based on what we wanted. But then we moved into the eyes of our children, and that hurt. Because I couldn't write, he was a great father. What I wrote was, he was a co-founder of this business and whatnot. And I'm going, this is wrong. I'd be happy in the business world if I was considered to be a pretty good businessman and a very good philanthropist. And I would hope that my children would remember me as a great father.
So you're busy rewriting it right now?
I think it's been rewritten.
I don't want to take the page out of Brett's book, but I don't feel any differently about the business side of it. It's you can chronicle what you did and what you're doing and who you've helped and what kinds of organizations you've been involved in, and all that's great. And a lot of it's kind of public. It's already known. It's filling up the words on the page in the obit or the whatever. And I think the most powerful thing for me would be meaningful memories conveyed from my family and my kids especially about the life that we had. You don't create lifelong memories with your kids every day at breakfast, but you do through so much of the interaction you have with them, and meaningful memories like that, and the experience that you brought, but also the character you were to them, because you are a character to your kids. I mean, you're their dad, but you're also a bit of a
we're bigger than life.
You're bigger than life, but you're also you're crazy at one level. You're inexplicable at another. There's all these facets to you that I would be thrilled to have that obit read as one of my kids describing all the quirky, weird things about me that were part of the memories we had together.
So knowing each other like you do, John, what would be, looking at Brett and his evolution, where he's come from and where he's going, what would be your wish for him, and then vice versa? Well,
my wish for Brett, it's always been the same wish, which is that he has a lot of love in his life, because he loves love. And I know from our time spent together, we both share that, seeking it, giving it, and experiencing it. Because all the other stuff I know he can do. He's done, and he's really good at it. But I know that is a part of Brett that is hugely important. And it's something that I know just from our check-ins instantly how great you feel based on that being in his life.
Brett?
Well, I see John and his empire as being something pretty powerful for Canada. And let me define your empire. First of all, it's the incredible relationships that you're building with your 4 children. I listen to you talk about those, and call it love, call it father, doesn't matter. But your true legacy is your children. But you've also created some significant wealth, and how you go about allocating that in your life, your leadership role in the Toronto community, the Ontario community, and ultimately Canada, I don't think you're tapped out. You've just started. Yeah. And I see that you've got, again, a network of friends, contacts, relationships, and you have the wealth to put your money where your mouth is, but your mouth will lead us as a nation into some interesting places. I see a lot.
Well, I'm excited about it too.
All of a sudden, I'm excited too.